Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Raleigh Housing Authority regular board meeting for May 22nd, 2025. Gwen, do you want to call the roll?
Right, Eric Braun.
Yes.
Valerie Crutchfield. Here. Susan Ellinger is now on. Arnie Morris. Arnie's on. Arnie, can you hear me? Arnie? Bahati Matisia.
Here.
Greg Warren.
Here.
Joe Whitehouse.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any visitors?
Gwen, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Arnie.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any visitors? Right.
We do. We have Andy and Charlie with South Creek Development. Kristen Kirby is here representing our bond attorney. Who else is here? Jake Gill. Wallach. Am I missing anybody? There's a number 615-482-7902. Okay. And then we have Paula Coppola. And if I missed anybody, just yell. Charles. Charles is here. Charles Prince.
Consider him a visitor.
Yes.
Sorry. Or is it Whitney? Whitney, is that you or Charles?
Whitney Mitchell's on.
Whitney's here for Charles. Okay.
Okay. Our next item of business, we're excited to have two new board members joining us, Evan Covington Chavez and Veronica Goodwin, sorry. And so I haven't administered the oath of office, but I'm going to do it pretty informally.
All right.
I'm just going to ask Evan to just read her oath, make it official.
I, Evan Covington Chavez, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. And I do solemnly and sincerely affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof. And I endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability. And that I will faithfully perform all of the duties of the office of Commissioner of the Housing Authority of the City of Raleigh, North Carolina, on which I'm about to enter, so help me God.
Thank you. I think that makes you official if you'll sign that. So Gwen can put it in her file. And then Veronica, if you don't mind doing the same for us to make it official.
I, Veronica Goodwin, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. And I do solemnly and sincerely affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof. And I endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability. And that I will faithfully perform all of the duties of the office of Commissioner of the Housing Authority of the City of Raleigh, North Carolina, on which I am about to enter, so help me God.
Thank you. That's official now. And I didn't know if you wanted to just say a few words about your background.
I'm currently the Director of Real Estate for Rocky Mount for Capital Broadcasting Company, a large development in Rocky Mount on the river there that is a historic renovation of an old tobacco warehouse, an old cotton spinning warehouse, and with residential and office. I, prior to that, have spent past the 20 years before that in affordable housing development and downtown commercial development in North Carolina and in Latin America. And I'm thrilled to be here. I live 3 minutes from here, so it's very convenient to get to. And I'm very excited about what the Housing Authority is doing, where they're headed, excited to be a part of it.
Great. Veronica.
Yeah, I'm Veronica, and I have 30 years in human resources and healthcare experience. I've lived in several big cities, Washington, D.C., Boston, Maryland, and really interested in housing and multi-use housing, especially in metropolitan cities and areas. But very excited to be here and learn and hopefully contribute. So thank you.
We're excited to have you, and we have a full complement of board members, so we have lots going on and look forward to working with you. So thanks for joining us. And Greg is our constitutional violation enforcer, so if you spot any constitutional violations, we'll be calling you. That brings us to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. If a commissioner requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda, it will be done and considered as a separate item. The vote will be taken as a roll call vote. Gwen?
Their motion?
Oh, yeah.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I think Veronica beat Marty out. So with that, I think we're ready for the vote.
Eric Braun,
Yes.
Evan Covington Chavez,
Yes.
Valerie Crutchfield.
Yes.
Veronica Goodwin,
Yes.
Barney Morris,
Yes.
Bahati Matisia.
Yes.
I got it. Thank you. Greg Warren,
Yes.
Joe Whitehouse.
Yes.
The consent agenda has been adopted. And we need to go to public comments. We missed it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Do we have anyone in the audience or online that is interested in giving us any sort of public comment on any matter that is not an item that is listed on the agenda to be considered tonight?
I do, but I was waiting if anybody else wanted to go first. I think it's important that when you do build these new places or rehab any of the places that you, get quality materials to use and, build it in a way that it's user friendly for the tenants. Because they're the ones that's gonna be spending day to day, all day long and night long into these homes. When you build something and you have empty space that's not usable, then it's blocked off from the tenants to use that. Or if you put the water heater right in front of the doorway in the storage unit, they can't utilize that storage space. Things like that, and then putting materials in there that's not quality. Like having your water pipes break all the time because they were already, I wanna say disbanded more than 20 years ago. Things like that. I appreciate it and thank you very much. Y'all have a sparkling holiday.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right. That brings us to the board chair report. I'm gonna hold off if we have some discussion items a little bit later, so I'll go ahead and move straight to the board secretary.
Soon. Flying saucers? Yes. That should show up soon, because that is.
Always.
There we go. It says the CEO report, I guess the agenda says the secretary. Think of myself and those stars.
Gwen, you got control of the agenda. If you want to switch that up, fine with me.
Well, this report tonight will cover only our strategic plan that we adopted last year in March. and the activities and achievements for this year. I'm a little worried about the presentation because the strategic plan is immense and we've done a whole lot and it might be confusing. So each of the things that I'll report on can be reported on for probably 15 minutes by themselves, but I will try my best. I want to welcome Evan and Veronica. We spent a good time. Part of your onboarding will follow up, but it's good to meet both of you and spend time with you.
Well, yeah, this is our first strategic plan in the history of the agency, other than the one that they have to form, they submit. So this is a big achievement for the agency.
Yeah, so just some background, the board and the executive staff at a strategic planning retreat in October of 2023. The plan was developed during the fall of 2023 and finally approved in March of 2024. So just a little bit more than a year ago. The plan identifies 5 strategic goals, priorities for the agency. Each of these goals is associated with a set of objectives, and then each objective has a set of identified strategies. And I try to count up all the identified strategies. It's somewhere around 110. So we'll go through a few that we have accomplished or worked on this year. So the strategic plan goals, we have 5, as I've said, and these are kind of abbreviated forms of the 5 objectives. And I will talk about them in more detail as I move forward. One of the obviously, we're a housing authority, and one of the first goals has to do with creating access to and develop vibrant, economically diverse communities of high opportunity throughout our jurisdiction. That's a lot of words and a lot of concepts in there, but it really reflects the change that we want to see in what we do as a housing authority and how we want to deliver our housing to make them communities that are vibrant and not islands of poverty. One of the first things that we did in 2023, because this was such a high priority for the board, was to create the capacity, the internal capacity to develop and acquire and redevelop housing. And so during 2023, we created the first parts of the development team that is led by Kenya Pleasant. She also has 2 development managers, and we have just added an underwriter. And we'll talk about that a little more, but one of the first objective under this goal is to acquire the financial tools and the capacity for success, not just staffing, but the financial tools that we need. It's a high priority for us, especially now to repossession all of our public housing properties. Most of them are aging and in need of redevelopment, and so we want to reposition them, replace the subsidized units, at least 1 for 1, and then add additional units so that they can become mixed income communities. We want to increase the supply through new construction. At the same time, we want to make sure that we preserve affordable housing stock, because it doesn't help a whole lot to add supply and then subtract by losing affordable housing. And then the voucher program has a particular role also in that they can provide access to high opportunity communities, especially the housing choice vouchers that are tenant based. So, what have we done in the past year with respect to these strategies? And I'm not going to relate them directly to the objectives, but I wanted you to have a sense of what those objectives are. And these are some of the strategies that we've implemented. As I said, we created a development department, and this year we expanded capacity of that team. We added underwriter and Michael, and I'm not going to pronounce your name. Kenya will introduce you.
Michael Eliyahu.
Michael Eliyahu. I interviewed Michael, and glad that he is here, and glad that Kenya can pronounce his name. But then, and this team is not part of the development team, but it was important for us to create a relocation team because we will probably relocate anywhere between 800 and 1,000 households over time. So we created a project-based voucher program, and Jennifer Morgan took on this task and also did the initial implementation work. And the project-based voucher program, just one of the things that it does is that it creates access to brand new, and it has already done so, brand new amenity-rich housing in low poverty communities. The project-based vouchers are not just subsidies to make housing affordable, but they're a real estate finance tool in themselves, because some projects are not feasible if they don't have the higher rent revenue associated with vouchers. So we have applied for this year. We applied for and received a Standard & Poor's credit rating, an A+ credit rating, which is a strong rating, investment grade rating. This for us and for housing authorities is a game changer, because we don't have the capital that big corporations and institutional investors have to acquire housing. Much slower, and we can't compete in that pool. But with this credit rating, we will be able to and can compete with those investors with quick access to capital at lower than market rates. So that's a game changer for us. As far as our redevelopment and repositioning goes, with Heritage Park being the first development that's going through repositioning. We applied for and received approval for disposing of Heritage Park to a related entity for essentially $1. In addition to getting the approval to dispose of the site for redevelopment, we have already received 112 tenant protection vouchers or replacement vouchers for the units at Heritage Park. One of the big achievements this year was not just creating a relocation team, but effectively designing a relocation plan and implementing it. And so I looked up today, and I might be wrong, but there are only 3 households left at Heritage Park out of 100 that was there a year ago. I'm still hoping to have 100% relocation by the end of this month, but in any event, it will happen soon. We are finalizing phase 1 plan for Heritage Park, and we have also submitted a 9% tax credit application. And we will know the results of that as part of the first phase, and we'll know about that in August. So quite a number of things that we've done. Additional strategies, right now we are ready to submit, and this is a complex bullet here, ready to submit a plan and application for repossessioning scattered sites. In other scattered sites public housing, there are 108 homes, and we will be disposing of that site to one of our nonprofits, OCAC, for $1. The value of these properties is approximately $34 million. Eventually, we will realize this when we sell those homes at fair market value. But in the meantime, the housing authority will manage and operate those properties with Section 8 vouchers that will come with the approval for disposition, and we'll be able to have some surplus cash from operating those units with the vouchers. And our intent is to build a endowment for services that after a number of years could be up to $10 million. In addition, this is a complex repositioning strategy. In addition, we will be selling those homes for affordable housing to a local nonprofit so that we can have up to 108 affordable homeownership opportunities for our residents and for others who meet the affordable income level. In addition to that, we have submitted the Glenwood Towers RAD Section 18 application with an initial proposed replacement housing plan. Now, this is a significant action that we've taken, and a significant initiative, because this RAD Section 18 blend that we will use is fairly new in December, but a couple of months after the notice came out in December, we were able to submit this plan. And with this, we will receive, if approved, we will receive 258 tenant protection vouchers, 90% of the units. And so we will have those, and we'll be able to leverage that for new development. And what happens with Glenwood, once residents have been relocated, the housing authority will become the owner of that property. We don't have a plan for the property itself, but we will be the owner. And out this window, ever since I started working here, I've looked at that ball field. It's a public housing property, and while I'm a sports person myself and a soccer player, I believe that we should convert that to affordable housing use. So we have issued an RFQ for a developer. From the respondents, we received 12 responses. We have selected 4, and we will be issuing shortly an RFP for developers to give us specific proposals. And these proposals will be for developing modular multifamily housing over here.
When we do that, is it planned to be just housing, any mixed uses or any kind of other usable space? Or will the board get any input into that RFP process when it happens?
Yes, the board will have input into what goes there.
Okay.
Yeah. Most likely, it'll be senior housing, potentially replacement housing for Glenwood. But there's likely to be non-residential space in there.
We need senior housing, that's for sure.
And so that concludes my section on what we want to do real estate wise over the coming years. Typically for what we need to do, which is reposition all of our public housing for a variety of reasons. We have these properties. Sometimes we were just in Seattle. There's a property there right close to downtown, next to downtown, being redeveloped into much denser housing since it's close to downtown. But they've been at it for 10 years, and we certainly don't want to be at this for 10 years on one property. We have a lot of work to be done, and we hope that we'll have the partnerships and the resources and strategies to get it done quicker than that. Any questions on the real estate strategy and the things we've done this year? I'm sure I've left out, but I'm out of breath talking about everything. So one of our goals in shorthand is thriving customers. Residents are central, not just the residents. I call them customers, and let me just clarify what I mean. Sometimes customers doesn't sound like the right word, but because we have Section 8 voucher participants and public housing and other residents, we don't want to say residents to make people feel left out, so we call, collectively, we call them customers, or I do. Raleigh Housing Authority customers will live in communities where they and their households have the opportunity to thrive. So what does that mean? One is in all of our planning, where there's new communities, redeveloped communities, policies and programs, we want to implement and design customer-centered planning. Just back in February, we started meeting with the residents of Glenwood. I think we met with them in February and March. Prior to that, probably more than 10 times. I personally met with communities there twice and facilitating the meeting, and the purpose of that meeting is supposed to hear from residents what they desire for their community and whether they want to stay there or move out. And so all of those meetings had to do with what residents' thoughts are about the future, the present and the future. We emphasize high quality service in all interactions with our customers. One of the things that we need to do because of the lack of resources for services from HUD, which essentially got out of the services business for public housing, is that we need to pursue resources needed to provide access to services. We have a distinct lack of resources as well as staff that focus on service coordination. So this is one of the objectives, is to get the resources needed to expand services. We want our services and programs that are offered to support customers' efforts to thrive. And we have various customers. We have kids in our communities. We have elderly folk in our communities. We have folks with disabilities. And so we want to make sure that the services that are offered cater to the needs of the folks who receive the services. And then we also want to leverage technology to empower our customers. So what are some of the strategies that we have followed? As I've mentioned, we've had extensive resident engagement strategies in repositioning planning at Glenwood Towers, but also Heritage Park and with our scattered sites residents. We do annual customer service training for staff so that they can provide the kind of services that lead to a feeling and a sense of dignity and respect from residents. We have just in the past couple of months, we have developed a new and formed a new resident services department. Prior to this, we've only had one service coordinator for close to 2,000 households, which is way inadequate. But the new resident services department will have more resources to expand the services and programs. We also created the relocation team that I talked about before, and the relocation team will be housed and is housed in the resident services team with folks who have a long history of working respectfully with residents. We've also started preparation, including training for a new self-sufficient family self-sufficiency program. This is a specific program in the public housing and Section 8 program that provides service coordination, access to training, to job search and such services, and also establishes an escrow account for residents and the escrow account receives deposits that are equal to the rent increases that residents get when they get a job and get increased income. So some residents in these programs accumulate over $30,000 in escrow funds that they can use for anything, home ownership, education, or whatever they need. And so the self-sufficiency program will serve former residents of Heritage Park and also residents of scattered sites, and hopefully for those in preparation that they can become homeowners where they currently live.
When do we think people will be enrolled in that?
In the family self-sufficiency program. So two of our staff are director of the program, as well as one of our service coordinators went through training, family self-sufficiency training earlier this year. And so one of the next steps will be to hire a family self-sufficiency coordinator. In fact, we are going to hire two self-sufficiency coordinators because of the additional income that the Scattered Sites program will provide. But first, it'll focus on Heritage Park residents. So we will, as I said, we've prepared this for this implementation, and this current fiscal year, we will launch the program for first of the 25 households. So funding for this, this one service coordinator will come from our Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Fee Reserve. We will use $300,000 of those reserves over a 3-year period. And the hope is that HUD will provide us with an FSS coordinator grant within that period, so that we can sustain the program without investing admin fee reserves. So this program, first will focus on the relocated Heritage Park residents that are now served with project-based vouchers or tenant-based vouchers. As I mentioned earlier, we expect surplus cash from the vouchers for the scattered sites when we when tenants use the vouchers to lease up their current units. And so with the surplus cash, we will fund an additional FSS coordinator and also seek to establish a support services endowment that could get up to $10 million over a period of time as we accumulate surplus cash from operating the scattered sites program. We also, and right from starting in 2023, we have conducted annual customer satisfaction surveys to make sure that we know how our customers feel about where they live and the services they get. And I am happy and proud to say that our staff consistently provide very high level of satisfaction to our residents. And one of the outcomes that I am most proud of has to do with a statement that the residents and participants respond to. And the statement is, the RHA staff treat me and my household with respect. And as you can see, both in the past 2 years, 95% of folks who respond say yes, that they do receive a measure of respect from whether it's maintenance or administrative staff. And I have, there are three other goals and a sets of objectives and strategies. But I'm happy to kind of end my presentation here and ask if you have any questions. Don't want people to miss dinner.
I think the customer satisfaction survey outcomes are great and something we should all be proud of. I'm just wondering how you gathered that and what kind of response rate you got. How many, we had, what, 4,000 folks that we're serving or so, very large number. What kind of return did you get?
I believe that the total amount of surveys that we got back in public housing and Section 8 was around 350
Out
of 6,000.
So it's a small percentage, but
yeah, the validity of that sample, when HUD, and we'll learn later about a CMAP evaluation, that when HUD comes and does the evaluation, or when we do the evaluation of 4,000 households, 75 is a statistically valid sample.
was that a paper survey that was sent out with a self-addressed return, or was it done electronically on?
Electronically.
Okay, so people would have to have access to it.
But by no means the perfect instrument,
Right.
but it gives us a good sense of where we are.
Do we have a sense of, I know you said now that we allow people to submit documents to their phone, that's been a big benefit to residents.
That's been a big benefit to residents.
But do we have a sense of what percent of our community has access to be able to respond to this stuff? Have we ever asked in some
Right.
form or fashion?
So I've asked the same question to Priscilla last week, and she says right now in the annual recertification, which is one of the main interactions that more than 50%, and this is just in, just about a year or less.
We've only been doing that for that amount
For
of
that,
time.
50% of the residents participate. And one of the comments from the surveys, and often we do provide residents opportunity to just say what they want to say. One of the responses, or at least one of the responses from a woman, resident this year, was that she really appreciates not having to take time off of work to come in, and sometimes that is twice for an annual recertification. Most of the time it is twice, and that she doesn't have to take time off work. She can do it whenever she wants to. Yeah, if she's in bed with her smartphone, she can do it at night. And she doesn't, miss time with family or so that's a big advantage and a big enhancement for our residents, that they don't have to, come into the office and meet with anybody. They can just do it on their own. Now there are some people do have challenges, but that was what I didn't talk about is we did implement Yardi April Fool's Day last year. And
Maybe that's why it's a little tougher.
The implementation was tough, but it has been very useful, just in terms of efficiency and effectiveness of the annual review process. Our staff, half of our Section 8 staff can handle caseloads of 500 households now. The standard in the industry is somewhere between 300 and 360. And so they can handle 500. Because they can handle 500, we've been able to say, hey, that you can get into we can promote you into a higher level position, so you can be compensated for that. But that's been a big, and now of course, based on the ability of our staff to do the work efficiently, and we now estimating that we will save the equivalent of 2 full-time equivalent staff as a result of that. So a lot of efficiency gains, customer service satisfaction gains, and I think that we have hired a very talented Yardi kind of implementation consultant away from her consultancy, and she's with us for up to 18 months to make us the premier implementer of Yardi in the nation, among housing authorities.
Actually, I don't know if in your onboarding process, you've introduced some of your key senior staff, many of whom are here, but it might be useful if you have it, just to kind of ask folks to go around the room and introduce themselves. Have you all? Yeah, you haven't? Oh, okay. All right. So then you did it.
So we had a 7-hour, no. Maybe close to 3 hours, 3.5 hours together, and just all the executive staff
Okay.
Sat in, and they were able to learn from new board members and get acquainted, help with
So you're not gonna go through the other?
Yeah, I can share the rest.
Well, I was gonna suggest maybe just at our next meeting, we do a little bit
Okay,
more.
that will be
Just
good.
kind of keep.
Yeah, so next meeting, we'll talk about the third objective and the strategies around it, and that is around the concept of organizational health. So new board member, there's a whole lot of that.
I think that's good, because we all need to refresh, and I would encourage existing board members, and the new ones probably have looked at it recently, but we should remember to circle back and take a look at the strategic plan to make sure we're all kind of tuned into what we're which direction should be heading in the agency too.
I've asked Gwen, to, after this meeting, to just send a copy of the final approved plan to all of the board members, just to get it to the top of their inboxes.
Okay, great. Great. Any other questions for Ashley on that? What else do you have for us? Well, that was your report. I forgot to say, you didn't have anything else. There we go.
Oh, I have a lot of stuff.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the updates. All right, that brings us to new business.
I think that brings you to report of the real estate chair.
Oh, yes, I'm missing him skipping over today. Greg, you have an update for us?
Yeah, what do we have? Two committees. Real estate committee is one of two, and I'm on that committee that's comprised of board members. Jill Whitehouse is also on that, Arnie Morris. Ashley, I think you're a member of that in some fashion. I'm not quite sure how that works exactly. But
I don't have the right to vote, but
Yeah.
we have a vote.
By nature of being the CEO.
And Eric always attends our meetings. He's very faithful, even though he's not officially a member of the.
When we get to committees, it's fine for other board members to attend those meetings.
So if you really want to go to the audit committee meetings, everybody's ready to roll. Yeah, the real estate investment committee met on April 16, and the main focus of that was just to kind of review the plans that for the first phase of development that Ashley mentioned for Heritage Park, which would be a seniors development. I think that we were looking at 52 units, and then we bumped it down to 51. There was some discussion about the design on the part of one committee member in particular, that maybe interior courtyard was a concern, that it might not be how to make that best usable. So I think that the design team took that into consideration. It's a pretty narrow courtyard with 4 stories of housing.
Are we locked into that? How much flexibility once you apply to this?
Well,
Flexibility
I would-
design.
Kenny, my experience and your experience, I think, suggests that the housing authority wants you to generally keep the same design under the 9% credits, in particular, given that they're competitive. But if you can demonstrate to them that you're making improvements, that you're not reducing the quality in any fashion, I think they can show some flexibility. I think they would with RHA and the importance of this project too.
Yeah, that's true. And, we are constrained in terms of the footprint of the building. And so that is the balance between trying to maximize the unit count. And then also the constraints from the 9%, because it's very strict in terms of the distance from certain things, including the utility lines, and easements, which are all around us. So that is a challenge. If we wanted to make an alteration, as Greg mentioned, if it was an improvement, there would be some flexibility.
And that would be a full board decision too, where we would have to.
Well, I'm not so sure how that would go, to be honest with you, but if the board wants to, approve that, that's certainly within their domain to say so. Kenny gave me a wonderful report this afternoon on much of which Ashley's already covered. So, but just in terms of the various projects that we have going on and the like, so I'm not going to reiterate those, but I do think that we're trying to organize, as we try to do with all of our committees, kind of a more of a standard practice. And I think that we've endeavored to have the real estate investment committee meetings on a monthly basis, but we're going to try and push those to, I think, 2 weeks prior to board meetings rather than 1 week, because they've always been held on Thursdays, 1 week before the board meeting. So we're going to try and push that to the second Thursday of each month, as opposed to what we're doing right now.
And that committee meets
more frequently than anyone.
Yeah, it's advisory, in nature. It's not a decision-making board, but, we do get into a fair amount of details, I guess, in the real estate investment. I would note to you that, one thing that Ashley, you mentioned, and I didn't know about this beforehand in your presentation, was that the scattered site strategy has changed a little bit, as I understand it. Previously, I've not seen any kind of effort that would be moving forward with a Section 18 project where, but we tenant base those. Maybe I just misunderstood that. But anyway, I think we had thought about, these are houses that were purchased when Capitol Park was developed, I think. And they're scattered throughout the city. Could be just duplexes or single family units.
Single family.
Yeah. I think the initial discussions we had was maybe we could sell those to either the tenants so they can move into home ownership, or find another group that could help them with home ownership. But I guess initially they're going to be, under the current plan, is they're going to be continued to be public housing units, or at least not public housing, but they'd be converted into
So
RAD type of.
there'll be homes, there'll just be houses, and they'll be subsidized with a tenant-based voucher if the current tenant chooses to stay there or take their voucher elsewhere.
Right.
So we want to preserve that tenant choice.
Right, so, and we're not locked in on to disposing these to any particular group,
Not at this point. No.
but that's still up for evaluation.
So we're trying to make these applications as simple as possible, so it doesn't get hung up at the Special Application Center in Chicago, and they can spend a lot of time there.
So it's better to make a change down the road.
So we just want to accomplish the disposition to our instrumentality. We'll continue to operate it until such time as people move out, and then we are working on the potential of working with a nonprofit that will acquire the units from us and then prepare them for home ownership under a land trust model.
And that's gonna be more of a in batches.
Yeah, in batches as they become
Identified.
Well, I would just add that I think it's important to, as you think about disposition strategies to other nonprofits, that you keep that open. And then you evaluate any nonprofit's ability to undertake a program based on their capacity to undertake.
And so that was precisely why we didn't want to just
bulk
sell it
sell.
all,
Yeah, right.
because there is no organization that has the current capacity to handle 108 units. We would have to be managing those units for them anyway.
Right.
And there's a benefit, as I indicated, that because of the much higher rent revenue that those units will get, higher than the total public housing funding, that we will be able to have surplus cash that we can then invest into residents.
And that's the real reason we're trying to get, with the uncertainty at the federal level, kind of accelerating our effort and just people need to understand in the public, they will still be affordable, and really a resident's not gonna see a difference. But some people heard when we initially, they hear some words during our meetings that we're gonna sell them to our instrumentality, and it's really a technical difference for internal reasons, but it's not gonna impact a resident. We are not selling them to a private ownership that's gonna be able to evict them, or, there shouldn't be any concern.
So under the law, the housing authority can't just sell it to itself. It has to be another entity, even if it's a related entity, and can sell it for less than fair market value if there's commensurate public benefit. The commensurate public benefit in this case is that it'll still be used for,
So will those 100 or so houses Are those equivalent to those that have been converted to RAD or done?
No.
No. But they're still gonna be owned by OCAD.
Yeah, they'll be owned by, they won't be a RAD conversion, they'll be a section 18 disposition.
Okay.
And the reason HUD is making this allowance for these scattered sites is because they know that these units will not survive under public housing funding. And it's the cost of maintaining them is just
Right.
too much, so they are, essentially, if you have scattered sites, there's no, they can apply, there's no hurdles that you have to jump through.
Then one other thing I mentioned, oh, I'm sorry.
I have two questions. Did I hear you say that there was a chance that tenants or residents could, purchase the homes, that they'd be prepared to, they would be in the program you mentioned to be able to
Right.
then purchase the homes?
Yeah, so if they have the means to, once we acquire the unit, or once OCAD acquires the unit, if they want to buy the home, we will try to facilitate that. Much of that's gonna happen with nonprofits who will have, do a homeownership kind of program. We are gonna supplement whatever is being offered to the residents with a self-sufficiency program that will allow residents essentially to accumulate funds that can later be used as down payment.
One thing that I would like to make sure, and I know that under the land trust model, this would happen, but that if, let's say that doesn't work for whatever reason, and we decide to just sell to a resident, I would be a little concerned that they could turn around and sell it and after, 6 months and get the equity out of it, and then we lose I don't want to prevent one of our residents who can buy it. We want them to be able to benefit from the equity, but I would hate to see that 6 months, and the way real estate markets are, they decide to just walk away after, 6 months. Is there a way we can, or just, we don't have to get into it today, but just think about how can we somewhat ensure that it's serving the purpose and it's not gonna all go away in a year.
Why don't we pin that as a discussion point to bring to the real estate investment?
Yeah, that'd be great.
What, in general, what is the condition, if you were to grade the condition of these homes, would you say that they're, if someone else were to, if a nonprofit were to acquire them, would they be able to turn around and sell them directly, or would there be improvements they would make on these homes before they resell them?
So there are improvements that are needed in a lot of these homes, and we are making some of those improvements now, not because we're gonna sell them, but just because they're needed. A lot of decks need to be replaced, air conditioning, and so we have contracts that vendors and contractors that will do that work. So we will make those improvements. Kenya, in terms of, current market value, we engaged somebody to.
Yeah, it's about a little over $300,000, like $330,000 per home was the valuation. And probably a guess of like maybe, I don't want to misspeak here for asset management, but I think maybe like 10 to 15,000 on average if you were to try to make it. Doing things like, also including things like cosmetic things, not just like the things like Ashley mentioned, outside of the things we're already working on, like HVAC and things like that.
Did I recall that you actually had a contractor go out there and do kind of a work write-up for each capital needs assessment for?
We did not do a capital needs assessment on the scattered sites like we did all of the other properties. But internally, our asset management team and housing operations has been working on assessing what the needs are. It's just part of our ongoing regular maintenance.
Then I have one more. I've said it before. I think we have an opportunity, if we have some lots that could be missing middle, that we could partner with some smaller developers potentially to build, 3 units on a lot that has 1 unit and one, take advantage of that and also show the community that we can do things that kind of can be done in a way that serves residents.
And that's, I think, one of the advantages of just selling all of them to our nonprofit and, you know, sort of a second stage of planning is we have, you know, looked at the lots, how big they are. I, you know, took a sample of 15 of these properties and, you know, a good percentage of them, were over 9,000 square feet. You know, some of them were less than 6,000 and others were between 6,000 and 9,000. Now, I'm not a developer of housing like that, so I wouldn't know what somebody would be looking at. But that's an analysis that we can do, and we don't have to do now. So, you know, part of our strategy, all of public housing is how can we just convert these properties so that they, as quickly as possible before things change, that might have huge opportunity.
Definitely understand that.
That's all I have for the real estate investment committee report at this point in time. Kenya, do you want to add anything that I may have missed? I mean, you've got some more. Ashley touched on a lot of the bullet points that you provided in your memo to me today.
No, I think that's it. I think that's good. Thank you for the cover.
Great.
All right, that brings us to commissioner comments. Do we have? I've got a couple, but I want to open it up to others
Yeah,
first.
it's Joe Whitehouse here, and first I'd like to welcome Veronica and Evan. It's been a long time. You look well over the video here. But looking forward to seeing you all in person sometime. Welcome to the board, and I assume that the bios on the website for the board commissioners will be updated soon, because I see that the new board members aren't on there yet.
Katie will update you. She's not here.
Great, thank you very much.
Other comments? So I have two. One, I wanted to, not today, but how many of our buildings do they all have access to Wi-Fi now, public spaces? And if we connect, I knew we didn't a while ago, and Google was working on a couple, and
Sonia is nodding.
Our management offices do. But that is progress. So if you come down to the office with your tablet, we can help you get on Rent Cafe, the new portal. So yes, we have made progress with that.
okay, good. And I assume that's.
So is Rent Cafe is that the name for the Yardi
Yes.
portal?
The online.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure as we go forward, you know, we're gonna have Wi-Fi everywhere.
Are you asking to have it inside the apartments? That's a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, no. I don't know what I don't know. What I want to make sure is if I want it in our public areas, so if we have common areas, you know, I don't know enough about what it would take to get it into the residents. I'd like to think as we're building new, it's so cheap now, as we're building new facilities, we should maybe consider it. But again, just put it out there. Second thing, there is a group now, and I know I've mentioned it before, but I met with them. They asked to meet with me. I don't know the technical name, but the Fourth Ward Committee. And they are working with the city more broadly to bring back and recognize the historic significance of the Fourth Ward. And Heritage Park, as I understand, was dead center in Fourth Ward. And they would like to talk with us about how we could incorporate. One, I know you mentioned a long time ago about potentially changing the name, and I was a little nervous because I didn't know the history of it. Well, they have shared with me, and they do not appreciate the name Heritage Park, and they would like to change the name of it. I don't know if that's sensitive for other people, but they would just like to have an opportunity to work with us to bring back some of the history of Fourth Ward and incorporate that into the Heritage Park development, maybe, signage. They talked about a lot of things, but, it seems to me that would be a good, worth exploring to bring back some of the history that was kind of taken away during urban. Again, I'm not as well educated in all of that, but, I'd like us to think about doing that and figuring out a way to incorporate it. And then we have the strollways coming next to Heritage Park, and that's gonna incorporate some of this as well. So, there may be some unified signage and things, but I thought it was, others may have opinions, and I'm just throwing it out there that they would like to work with us to see how we might be able to accomplish that. And it seemed worthwhile to do that. So I can put you in touch with the folks that are.
I know Kenya.
Yeah, they participated in our charrettes. And so we've had some conversations with them. It's been a while since there's been some changes in the organization there, but as it relates to the strollway, we have been having close conversations with the city about the synergies and some collaboration with the strollway. And so it would be good to talk to the representatives.
Rosa Rand is kind of leading it. I don't know if you've met with her, but.
Yeah, we met with her. Both her and her daughter came to the design charrettes and have come to a couple of things. And
Okay, well, they're very interested in trying to see where they could, incorporate some of the history back into Heritage Parks. Those are my comments. Anything else anybody thought of while I was rambling? All right, hearing none, that brings us to new business, which is, the first item is resolution number 35, issuance of and sale of multifamily note, Burrell Lofts.
This resolution approves the issuance of 19 million in a multifamily note for Burrell Lofts, a 120-unit multifamily residential development for seniors located in Raleigh. Wallach is the developer for this property, and Passage Homes will be the co-managing member. The bonds will be privately placed with Merchants Bank during construction, and then privately placed with Freddie Mac when the development converts to permanent financing. The property will serve residents between 20 to 80% AMI, with 33 of those units serving residents below 30% AMI. Also, as a requirement of the tax credits, the property is required to accept housing choice vouchers. The tenant selection plan will include a preference for RHA residents displaced due to redevelopment. And with this resolution, you're approving the CEO, chair, and/or vice chair to execute any documents related to the issuance of the multifamily note. This has been reviewed by RHA's legal counsel with no exceptions, and I recommend approval. Jake with Wallach is on the Zoom call if there are any questions.
Yeah, I've been out of town, so I haven't had a chance to look at. Where is this property? This is the first time we've seen this property.
We did a preliminary.
Okay, we did do a preliminary. My memory as to where it's located again.
Jake, did you want to? I don't remember the exact address.
General neighborhood or area.
Hi, yeah, can everyone hear me? This is Jake at Wallach.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, but I had to switch over to the phone. So, but yeah, this project's located at approximately, it's 1402 Garner Road. It's right at the corner of Hope Street and Garner Road. It's just south of downtown.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions regarding resolution number 35?
Yeah, I'll just ask another. Is the city participating in the financing of this?
Yes, they are. And we have money from the city of Raleigh as well as Wake County. It's approximately $3.175 million from the city and $2.675 million from Wake County.
Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for resolution number 35. Is everybody shy? I'm gonna go ahead and move that number 35. We have a second to my motion.
Eric Braun,
Yes.
Cindy Covington Chavez, yes, Mallory, Veronica Goodwin,
Yes.
Artie Morris. Artie Morris,
Yeah. Can you hear me?
okay, yes,
Yes, Gwen.
Bahati Matisia. I think she dropped off. Greg Warren.
Yes.
Joe Whitehouse.
Yes, somebody's got their speaker on. It's a little hard to hear from outside the meeting.
Resolution number 35 has been adopted.
All right, this next resolution is related to the same project. It's resolution number 36, approving the financing team for Burrell Loss.
This resolution is also related to the 19 million and a multi-family note for Bureau Law. This resolution is to approve the finance team. This resolution is required and deals for the approval of the North Carolina Local Government Commission is required. The Local Government Commission wants to see that RHA has approved the finance team. This has been reviewed by RHA's legal counsel with no exceptions, and I recommend approval.
So this sounded different. Aren't all these required to go to LGC or?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I just was making sure there wasn't anything unique about it. Other questions regarding this resolution? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution number 36.
I'll second it.
Gonna make a motion.
You made a motion, Joe.
All right, I made a
I'll
motion to approve. Excuse me.
I'll second it.
Okay, Eric Braun,
Yes.
Evan Covington Chavez,
Yes.
Valerie Crutchfield,
Yes.
Veronica Goodwin,
Yes.
Artie Morris,
Yes.
Greg Warren,
Yes.
Joe Whitehouse.
Yes.
Resolution number 36 has been adopted.
Everybody's being quiet tonight. They're on good behavior because we have new board members. That brings us to resolution number 38, approving the financing team for Rock Quarry Landing.
37.
37. Just gonna get myself the other day. Brings us to resolution number 37, issuance and sale of multifamily housing revenue bonds, Rock Quarry Landing.
In September of 2021, Raleigh Housing Authority approved the issuance of multifamily housing revenue bonds up to $23.5 million for the construction of Rock Quarry Landing, a 188 unit multifamily apartment complex. At closing, $22,750,000 was issued. Due to delays caused by COVID, which also resulted in increased construction costs, the developer is seeking an additional bond issuance in the amount of $2.6 million in taxable multifamily housing revenue bonds for Rock Quarry Landing. The construction on Rock Quarry Landing was completed in 2024 and is currently in operations. This resolution approves the CEO, chair, and or vice chair to execute any documents related to the issuance of the $2.6 million in taxable multifamily housing revenue bonds for Rock Quarry Landing. This has been reviewed by RHA's legal counsel with no exceptions, and I would recommend approval. Both Andy and Charlie with South Creek Development are available if there are any questions.
I know we've had these kinds of things come up where costs have gone up and they've needed more financing. I don't recall other ones that have been built in operation. Is that unusual, or what is that used for? Or maybe that's a dumb question, but
What's the question?
they're asking for additional bonding authority, but the property's already been built and in operation. And I just don't recall us doing that in the past. And I just was curious if it's unusual or we always do it and I just noticed it for the first time.
No, you're right. We don't often do that. I think maybe we've had it one other time and it's been a while. Normally, sometimes we've had to amend the inducement resolution, so before the bonds close. This is one where the bonds have already closed and construction is about complete. And so they're getting ready to convert to the permanent financing. And so they need a little additional at that conversion. And so it is with the same lender that was planned. So it's just gonna go up by 2.6 million. But yeah, you're right. We don't normally see this.
Thank you. Any other questions about resolution number 37? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve resolution number 37?
Well, second,
The motion is second. Gwen?
Right, Eric Braun,
Yes.
Evan Covington Chavez.
Yes.
Valerie Crutchfield,
Yes.
Veronica Goodwin,
Yes.
Arnie Morris,
yes,
Greg Warren,
Yes.
Joe Whitehouse.
Yes.
Resolution number 37 has been adopted.
That brings us to resolution number 38, approving the financing team for Rock Quarry Landing.
This resolution is also related to the 2.6 million in multifamily housing revenue bonds for Rock Quarry Landing. This resolution is to approve the finance team. The local government commission wants to see that RHA has approved the finance team. This has been reviewed by RHA's legal counsel with no exceptions, and I recommend approval.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second for resolution number 38?
Second.
Motion is second. Gwen?
Eric Braun,
Yes.
Evan Covington Chavez.
Yes.
Valerie Crutchfield, Veronica Goodwin,
Yes.
Arnie Morris,
yes,
Greg Warren,
Yes.
Joe Whitehouse.
Yes.
Resolution number 38 has been adopted.
Brings us to resolution number 39, CMAP certification for FY 2025. How are you today?
It's fine. I hope you all are.
Yours are. I hope most of us are.
This resolution is in reference to the annual CMAP assessment program called CMAP. The Section 8 Management Assessment Program is designed to assess whether the Section 8 tenant program, base program, operates to help eligible families afford decent rental units at the correct subsidy cost. CMAP also established a system for HUD to measure public housing performances in key Section 8 program areas and to assign performance ratings. On October 6, 1998, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD issued Notice 9858, which announced the establishment of the Section 8 Management Assessment Program. That 24 CFR requires public housing authorities which administer a Section 8 tenant-based program to submit information related to the performance of the Section 8 program in 14 different indicators. That was a part of your board book. You all should have a copy of that. All 14 indicators were reviewed, and we did well on most of them. We only lost points on one indicator, that was the determination of adjusted income. The review identified that less than 80% of our files sampled passed the review. The Section 8 Department did review the errors and determined that the calculation errors were caused by missing utilities that were not transferred during our conversion to Yardi. It was identified that several of the files that were key missed some of the utilities needed for the rent adjustment determination. The Section 8 staffs have been briefed on the error and retrained. All files that have been processed since the conversion since the actual conversion itself will be reviewed and corrected, and all files going forward are going under the same type of review after they are being processed. As part of the CMAP review, RHA is required to prepare and submit an electronic certification of its performance to HUD within 60 days of the end of our fiscal year. Staff has completed the CMAP certification, a copy which is also attached to the resolution. And RHA is required to submit that by May 30th. If there's no question, I would recommend.
I've got a couple just to, on, the number 3. So, we checked the box that less than 80% of the files are sampled. Is that related to the issue you just, that's the issue, okay. And then I saw something in paragraph 8. It looked like there were supposed to be fair market rents. No, it says, it's the one payment standards, and then says if the PHA has jurisdiction in more than one FMR area, and or if the PHA has established separate payment standards. Maybe that's why we didn't need to fill any of those blanks in there. Sorry, I was actually read this, I'm sorry, it's the one that says, it's number 8. It says payment standards. The PHA has adopted payment standards schedules in accordance with some statutory site. In fact, yes, but then where it says the payment standards, there were no blanks filled out, and I didn't know if we were supposed to fill them out.
Let's see, I'm asking there for Phyllis.
You're looking at the spreadsheet, I'm sorry.
No, I'm looking at this. Calculation, I think.
No, the blank, because there's an attachment to the payment standard. Because we used to have a payment standard that was, one payment standard, and it just for each, bedroom size, but this year was switched to small area fair market rates. And so we'll have, like 3 pages long, so you couldn't fit in there, I'm so sorry.
That's why, well, no, I'm sorry, so I looked at the thing and it looked like it should be addressed.
So there's an attachment to
Okay,
that.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
And then, sorry. Okay, that's all my questions on that, sorry.
So we have a resolution.
We have a resolution, and if there are no other questions, we can entertain a motion to approve resolution number 39, but I want to make sure there weren't any other questions. Because this ended up being a lower number than we normally get.
Yes.
Percentage wise. Okay, hearing no other questions, I'll move that we approve resolution number 39. We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Gwen?
Eric Braun,
Yes.
Evan Covington Chavez.
Yes.
Valerie Crutchfield.
Yes.
Veronica Goodwin,
Yes.
Arnie Morris,
yes,
Greg Warren,
Yes.
Joe Whitehouse.
Yes,
Resolution number 39 has been adopted.
Thank you. That brings us to resolution number 40, Raleigh Nursery School lease agreement.
The Raleigh Housing Authority and Raleigh Nursery School have developed a partnership spanning back to 1939. Our agencies have developed this long-term partnership aiming to serve the children of low-income families who may be recipients of RHA public housing or voucher rental assistance. In 2015, RHA and Raleigh Nursery School executed a 10-year lease agreement for 1035 Halifax Street, which is set to expire on May 31st. Both agencies wish to extend the terms of the lease, but require additional time for review, negotiation, and for final legal review. Staff is seeking to execute the proposed short-term lease to provide additional time to execute a thorough review and negotiation process without disrupting the activities and programming offered. Staff feels confident that 7 months will allow for a sufficient time to iron out the terms and conditions of the lease agreement. RHA will bring back the lease to the board for final execution at the end of the year. I am happy to answer questions and would recommend approval.
Do you have any questions regarding resolution number 40?
yeah, this is
We-
Joe. How long is the new lease contemplated for, or has that been determined?
It would go through the end of 2025, so it's 7 months from the end of this month to the end of the
No,
year.
I understand the short-term lease, but I'm talking about the lease that will be negotiated during this long-term lease. Is that another 10-year term?
That has not been determined yet.
Okay. And what was the cost of the previous lease? How much a square foot are we charging them?
Per
The
square foot, I
what's the
cannot
what's the
know,
current lease?
the current rent amount is $5,250 a month.
Okay. Great.
Do we know, the income level of the households being served by Raleigh Nursery School?
I can find out that information. They are keeping record of that. They do not provide us necessarily the addresses, so we can cross-check them against our properties. But they do aim to serve under 80% AMI, and I can find out those percentages.
I think it'd be useful to understand how many of our public housing families are using that service, as well as in general, the income levels of the families.
Yep, they provide that in the report to us annually, so I will get some updated numbers because that comes in January.
Do you perceive that this rent is below market?
I don't want to talk too much about what we may be asking for rent wise.
I'm not suggesting a number, I'm just asking if it's perceived that it's below market.
Oh,
I'm not a real estate professional. I cannot answer that. I don't know if Kenya can provide a better feedback.
Yeah, I think it's below market.
Okay, that's all I wanted to
It's
know.
about an 8,000 square foot building.
So Joey, you can get out your calculator, 8,000 square foot.
No, I'm glad to see we're not raising the rent during the interim period, and hoping that we continue to give them the ability to have a below market rate rent here. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
all right. We may have a motion to approve resolution number 40. Do we have a second?
Second, Greg Warren.
Glenn?
Eric Braun,
Yes.
Evan Covington Chavez. Yes. Valerie Crutchfield,
Yes.
Veronica Goodwin,
Yes.
Arnie Morris,
Yes.
Greg Warren,
Yes.
Joe Whitehouse.
Yes.
Resolution 40 has been adopted.
That brings us to our last resolution of the evening, resolution number 41, authorizing the CEO to take all necessary actions to obtain local and HUD approvals for the demolition of Heritage Park. Does that include you actually driving some heavy equipment around? No. Good. I wasn't gonna support it. That's what it required. I guess, Kenya, you joined us at the table. Is this yours?
Yes. RHA submitted a Section 18 application on July 1st, 2024, and received approval on December 27th, 2024, for the disposition of Heritage Park. The submission assumed the demolition would occur after the disposition, and the buildings would be completely vacant for less than 6 months. Based on the current development timeline, however, the estimated vacancy period is over a year, assuming a closing in the latter part of 2026. This is largely because RHA staff has outperformed with respect to tenant relocation timing and relocation occurring more than 6 months ahead of schedule. Additional time was also needed to firm up the entitlement plan, as the initial concept plan had to be revised because of the permanent closure of a city street adjacent to Heritage Park. Additional diligence and studies were required as part of that process. The extended vacancy period creates operational and safety risk. The RHA annual plan and capital fund plan includes demolition activities. And this resolution allows for the CEO to obtain local government and HUD approvals for the demolition prior to the disposition of Heritage Park, and to use public housing capital funds for the demolition. This resolution has been reviewed by our outside consultant, and I recommend approval of resolution 41.
Do we have questions regarding resolution 41?
This includes buildings.
Motion to,
I was just asking a question.
Yes.
Buildings, streets, existing streets.
This includes buildings and we are evaluating the foundations because of impervious surface. So there might be some where we need to relieve some of those foundations in place. And so we're working with Kimley on finalizing that demolition plan, so that we don't have to go back and do stormwater.
So the scope is still being tweaked by the civil engineers.
But definitely all the buildings.
All the buildings.
structures.
All the buildings, all the structure.
I may have missed it. Is the idea that the site would be fenced after this or during the demolition and after?
Yes. That's part of the scope for the demolition plan.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Is this the use of the capital funds, had this been the plan since the beginning to use this source for funding, or is this a change because of the wanting to do this before?
We had, I think, it's always been the plan that RHA would fund, the demolition. And use of the capital fund has been in place for that.
Okay, all right. That's great.
Other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval of resolution number 41.
This is Joe, and I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Eric?
All right, Eric Ron,
Yes.
Evan Covington Chavez,
Yes.
Valerie Crutchfield,
Yes.
Veronica Goodwin,
Yes.
Arnie Morris,
yes.
Greg Warren,
Yes.
Joe Whitehouse.
Yes, and I'm happy we're moving this forward.
Resolution 41 has been adopted.
Yeah, and you all caused the issue because you were too efficient. That's good news. Brings us to our last item, which is the subcommittee discussion. We've been slowly implementing a committee structure. As you can tell, we have this is a really diverse agency with lots of moving parts, and real estate has kind of taken real estate and finance obviously are the ones that are always issues we deal with. And so our finance and audit committee and the real estate investment committee have been pretty robust and have been meeting. We haven't created the housing program and policy committee or the HR policy committee. And so we want to get those moving. The idea would be that most of them can meet quarterly. The real estate investment committee is just different because it just has action. Yeah. It has too many moving parts and they're happening at very frequent. It's got a kind of a frequency of activity. My hope is, and I appreciate everyone that filled out the preference form. My hope is that I don't want to have more than 3 people on a committee. That's just kind of my sense. We can't have more than a majority from the board because then it's an actual, they can make decisions, for the board, and the whole board wouldn't have the benefit of the conversation potentially. So I'm happy I'd like to hear other people's input. I'm not gonna, my hope is, and it looks like we have a pretty good distribution of people's preferences. So I don't think we'll have an issue, but I might have to talk to a couple people about their preferences and where they get slotted, but and it might be helpful if somebody's willing to serve on more than one committee, particularly the committees that aren't going to necessarily have to meet as often. But I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or comments just about what we're trying to do, and I think Ashley's going to try to structure the meetings such that there'll be a meeting pretty much, there'll be a report from a committee meeting almost every one of our meetings, depending on how they line up. So we'll know, we'll have more, hopefully enhanced communication about some of these areas. that we don't deal with directly all the time. I'm really interested in the housing policy and the HR kind of policy because we haven't focused a lot on kind of the internal operations and resident services. But does anyone have suggestions, thoughts, questions about what we're trying to do? Just opening up for the.
I just want to make sure that Ashley and his team are prepared to staff the committees, you know, you gotta feed them.
Water them,
Let them grow.
put us in our place on occasion.
Yeah, so the committees will have, I will, probably, make it to most, if not all the meetings. But we will have a senior staff person, assigned to the committee, just from my perspective, based on the board, responsibilities and roles. One of the roles is oversight, and these committees can play a good role, useful role in increasing oversight, not meddling, but oversight over portions of the agency's work. There's a lot, as you could tell from, trying to explain the strategic plan and what we're doing, and then there's a whole lot of other things. And it's hard for all board members to know about everything. And so these committees will provide board members with deeper, kind of more into, maybe not too much into the weeds, so that some board members issues and can come to board meetings with that insight or with that information. So it's also be far more efficient for the organization and for the board, so that not every board member has to be an expert on everything. And so I am looking forward to the committee structure working so that board members can exercise oversight based on information and knowledge that they have. It's always my concern that we bring things to the board that is complicated and folks may vote not really understanding issues. So I think this will be helpful in that case, so that board members can exercise proper oversight in there.
And we're gonna be, over the last few years, there's been an intentionality by the mayors to focus on capacity in terms of real estate development, because we'd done quite a bit 20 or 30 years ago, and we've not done much since then. But we're putting together a kind of a skills matrix too, so that when we have board slots open, we can kind of be intentional about who we recruit and make sure that they are bringing a skill set to the table that will complement our collective skills and abilities. And what I'd like to also do, instead of telling the committees what they need to do, I was recently involved in the process where the committees were created, but then we asked each committee to come back with like a one-page work plan with the input, with help from the staff, because, we don't necessarily understand or know yet what the programs and policy issues that you'd like us to take a look at. And so, it'll be a kind of a iterative evolution of the committees and how they operate, but it's important, I think, for us to start doing that. Effective boards generally have to do a lot of work in the committees. So I think it'll make us more efficient, and we'll have to, also, there's some trust here, and, we're gonna have to trust that others that are getting into this more deeply, are bringing back helpful information. The other thing about the committees, you know, board members can attend other committee meetings. It's not an exclusive, it's just those are the members that actually vote and make recommendations to the full board. But it's not a matter of locking somebody out and, you know, if you're particularly interested in something that's going on one committee and you're not necessarily on it, you're welcome to attend those, as well, so.
Eric,
Yep.
just to that point, does that contradict your earlier statement about not having more than 3 people on a committee? Because if you have more board members gathering, then is that an
It's more-
official board meeting?
It doesn't make it an official board meeting. I would say that the thing to be careful about is, and I'm guilty of it, board members that attend those meetings that are not part of the committee should probably err on the side of listening and not being part of the formal discussion. But the main point is, any formal action that comes out of a committee is it's a recommendation. And only those that are formally on the committee can vote. That's why I don't want to have more than 4 people on a committee. I think 3 is fine. 2 would be fine on some of these if we don't have enough to, you know, cover without having, you know, multiple people serve on committees. So what I'm hoping to do in the next week or so, I may have to reach out to a couple folks just to talk about which assignments, but like to, you know, I'm hoping I can accommodate everybody's desires as much as I can, and we'll announce them. But I'll reach out to most of you and just tell you what I'm thinking, and then we can work it out. I don't want to stick somebody on something they definitely have no interest in and don't want to participate on, but we may need a little flexibility in terms of preferences depending on where it all shakes out. There's a lot of interest in the real estate investment group. That's the only one that might be a little heavily weighted, but otherwise I think we're in good shape. And then Ashley can think through schedule of meetings and cadence for those, and we can work on with each committee member on kind of best times for those. And they are official committee meetings, so they also are open to the public. So we have to add that, you know, we have to advertise, we have to make it available to the public. That's the nature of being a public agency, and it doesn't necessarily lend itself to efficiency, but that's what we have to do, and we're gonna comply with the statute. So we don't have Greg telling us we're violating any constitution.
No, that was your role as an attorney. You were doing that.
I know, but I just. So, again, it's just another step forward in kind of building the sophistication of the board and how we operate. And, you know, we brought Ashley on 2 years ago and 2 years and a couple of days. And, you know, this is just a continuing implementation of kind of what we had set out when we hired Ashley, and we got the strategic plan, and committee structure is one of the things that was in the strategic plan as well. So anyway, I did a lot of talking. If other people have questions or you want to reach out to me after the meeting to talk about any of it, please let me know. And none of this is set in stone and change. We can shift things around.
The only thing I'd suggest is that we do have a description of what the committee's charge is, and charter, if you will, and also that the committees probably be, at least my recommendation would be, is the committees be appointed at the same time officers at our annual meeting, so that we know every year we can change committees if we want to, and that can be done at the annual meeting when we elect officers.
Yeah, I think if you'll help remember.
I mean, that's my
that.
suggestion.
I think it makes sense to do that. We can, September is we do the annual meeting. So we can get this kind of set up, and, you know, I don't know that hopefully we won't have to change it in September. We can have a year and a little bit, but I agree with that. It makes sense to, you know, and make sure people are, you know, if they get burned out on a committee and they want to change, all that's again, we're not trying to be so rigid. I want people to participate in the things they're interested in, and hopefully also the things that they bring their skills to the table on, but you don't necessarily have to have a skill set that applies to a committee that you're on. We're all learning as well, and so we want to, and there's a lot to learn in this stuff, and I think you all have some understanding of that, but we're all learning as we go. I'm glad we have appointments. But with that, I'll just be in touch with kind of what I think the committee assignments will be, and then we'll start trying to work out schedules and move things forward. But thanks to everybody again. We're excited to have you both joining us, and we have a lot of work to do. We have a good staff, and Ashley's continuing to build it, and we're gonna have a lot this next year, so it's gonna be pretty busy. So. Thanks to everybody. With that, I think unless there are any other comments, we can call it a night. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.